Частина театру драми та комедії зараз знаходиться в місті Мюнхен, в самому приміщенні театру Münchner Kammerspiele. І зараз ми маємо можливість поспілкуватися з одним з драматургів. Це зовсім інша позиція, ніж в українському театрі. І зараз ми дізнаємося, чому. Запрошуємо вас.
Yes.
Hello. Sorry for distracting.
Hey. Nice to see you.
We just want to have a little talk with you about maybe for the first, because we introduced you as a dramaturg, Medi Moradpur. What is the difference between dramaturg in our understanding as a person who writes text and dramaturg in German theater?
Okay, good question. Dramaturg, in terms you talk about that as playwright, is somebody who somehow with different techniques and methods of writing writes a play.
Yes.
So playwright.
Mm-hmm.
In the German system, there is also a dramaturg who is more, if you want to translate it, you say dramaturg, or you say some kind of counselor, artistic counselor, or program maker of the theater. So the function of the dramaturgs in the German theater, sometimes there are varieties between different theaters, but actually it's like there are three different functions that you can talk about. The first one is to making the program of the theater. So in this function they are more curators. So they choose topics, people, and themes, and they bring it together. The second point is to be production dramaturg, to in each production to be the critical counselor or advisor, if you want, of the production, and take care of the whole of the production processes and communication. And the third function would be to communicate, to communicate to the outside of theater the productions and the processes of theater. For example, to be some kind of lawyer of your production, upcoming and produced productions.
Okay. I think maybe now we understand it more or less.
Yeah.
But what is your role in our project, which is named Artist Intersection Theater Laboratory between Kammerspiele and Levbank Theater? What is your role in this project?
I have no role, of course. One part of that was to talk and think with Martin Waldes-Stauber together about the cooperation points, about that and that we could do. So he had ideas and we talked together, and we two are responsible. He's the main responsible. I was like the second person responsible for the projects, for processes, and that was one part. The second part was like to be part of the Ophelia project in the beginning and talk about
and your
the topic.
text is also in the...
Yes, some parts of my texts are in the... I don't know if they would take it because they go their own way. Some of the parts of the text are inside, I think. At least I talked about Ophelia, Hamlet, and process of writing a lot with Alek and Edit. Alek is the director and Edit one of the actresses. And in other parts of the project that are not directly connected to Left Bank Theater, also I have a text translated and other things that are going on.
So how do you find this cooperation with the Left Bank Theater? What is it for you?
I mean, for me, from the beginning, it was a possibility of exchange in that we both somehow see how we work, how we perceive or conceive the theater, how we think about civil society, theater, and political issues in and outside of the theater. For me, it was the first interesting point to just have artistical and political exchange with all of you and see how do you see the world, how do you see Germany, how do you see your country, how do you see, for example, me as German, Persian, as an example, how do you see the German society? That was very important, of course. On the second hand, the concrete possibility of being able to work together, on one project or something.
And to have this cooperation from both sides.
Yes, and to have these cooperations, to drink something in the canteen, to go to party. No, nothing like that. Just working.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Ciao.
We leave you to keep working. А зараз ми прийдемо до наступних учасників нашого проєкту і розповімо вам детальніше про нього. Ходімо. Зараз ми познайомимося з німецькою частиною нашої команди. І одним з них буде Матіас. Він займається музикою в нашій виставі. Hello.
Hey.
Can we distract you from work for a second?
Yes, sure.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, I'm Mathias. I'm doing music. I would consider myself as a non-educated sound designer. But yeah, I like to experiment with stuff like, for example.
But looks very serious.
Well, it's like a lot of stuff I can experiment with. For example, tapes and synthesizers.
And mostly it's electronic music, right?
It's electronic and acoustic. I have, for example, this really rudimentary piece of wood, and
This one?
Yeah, I was just putting some strings on it to make some strings noises. You can try, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So your role in the project is creating music?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
How is the process going?
Good for now. I mean, we are trying a lot. We are building the scenes, and my role is to to see how it goes, to know about the text of the piece, and to try
and you're creating it in live time?
Yes,
like...
I'm creating it live, trying to adapt the atmosphere, and and also I'm recording some sounds, and at home I elaborate on them. So it's like both live and afterwards or beforehand. So
how is the work with Ukrainian team? Is it difficult because of the language barriers, or?
There are some limits according to the different languages, for sure. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's nice to work with people who are from far away, because they have another view and another perspective on the world and on a creative process. So it's really nice to work with them.
Thank you so much. А зараз ми познайомимося з частиною німецької команди. Це автори вистави «Офелія. Вихід з води», акторка Едіт Салдана та режисер Алек Нєміро. So guys, first question, is it the first time when you work with international team?
For me, actually, it's not the first time. I did production in university where we had different acting students from different parts of Europe. So there was people from Greece or from Sweden, and like we all had English as a common language, and we did a really big project with different parts from different countries, yes.
Yeah, I also worked with Polish productions a couple of times in Warsaw, and also with Flemish and Dutch productions. So it's not the first time, but it's the first time with Ukrainian production team, so it's really nice.
So was it hard to work with the Ukrainian team?
No, it's not. It's actually really interesting. So I really wanted to do the sisterhood, so I'm very glad that it all worked out. And it's, I feel that we somehow share the same interest in the thing we are doing, and so that makes it really easy. Although sometimes we don't really understand, and it's a little bit more slowly because of the language, but it's nice.
Is it hard? To some extent, yes, but like my family comes from Poland, I speak Polish, so it's a little bit easier for me to understand what they're saying. So somehow I learned some Ukrainian too, but on the being a director in this thing, it's interesting because you get more physical in how you explain things. Because normally when I do things in German, in the German language, it's more like we talk more, and because of the somehow language barrier there is, I do more on stage, and it's much more physical way of directing, which is really nice.
So you guys are authors of Ophelia, of idea of this performance. So how did you both come up with this idea? Why did you choose Ophelia as a main character?
So I think it's because we've been talking about doing something together for a long time, and we were both always interested in Hamlet, actually. And then you came up with Ophelia, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, like Ophelia was, I always like, you know, the losers in history. I was always interested in not the heroes of a story. So therefore, Ophelia was somehow a logical step to like work on that character artistically. But for me, it's or like for us together, when we think about Ophelia, it's more than just the Ophelia from Hamlet, but you know, somehow like an archetype of Ophelias through all ages, like from the past, the present, and the future, like being the oppressed ones, having no voice. And this play we are doing, or this performance we are doing, is a lot about giving people a voice who had none for a very long time, maybe even eternity.
And I also feel, because you said you've been always interested in some of the losers or the outsiders of a story, and I feel that Hamlet is also kind of a loser and an outsider. That's why I was always interested in Hamlet. But on the other hand, I feel it's so, at the moment, it's also like kind of old and easy to just like reproduce, even if a woman plays Hamlet, is still somehow a reproduction. And why not give a voice to those characters in a story who haven't any voice? Yeah, and I felt that, as you told me, that Ophelia could be more interesting. It was like, it totally made sense for me. Yeah.
So do you plan, or do you want to keep working with the Ukrainian team, maybe create another performance?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
And I would love to go there as well.
Yes, you would really like to go there and, you know, make a play and have more time.
Yeah, get to know the theater there.
Yes, and have like time there and work there and, you know, meet other people and maybe even do like Ukrainian author or playwright, which would be really nice to, you know.
Well, we'll definitely invite you. But let's see what pandemic makes for us.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.